Hello and welcome to another wonderful episode of Iron Port. This program is proudly brought to you by Serene Insurance, Goil Company Limited, the Ghana Revenue Authority, Ghana Link, who are the operators of the Integrated Customs Management System, and Meridian Port Services. This program is also powered by the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Our proud media partner is the Business and Financial Times. Now, folks, this week we are discussing the state of the fishery sector in Ghana from the perspective of the tuna industry. So we had in the studios the Secretary of the National Fisheries Association of Ghana in the person of Mr. Ni Amafio to discuss this particular subject. Let's take a listen.
I just want to find out from you what progress we've made in the sector.
You can't say we have not made progress because we continue to employ people, we continue to pay taxes, we continue to ensure that there is food on the market. However, as a country, we have failed to recognize that we need to do more to build a robust fishing industry. And we cannot have the fishing industry feeding 10% of our country's population. We can have the fishing industry feeding everybody in terms of providing fish as source of our protein needs, but it cannot continue to employ 10% of the country's population. That is too much. You need to work at reducing the seagoing fleets, but whilst you do that, you need to improve on your upstream activities in terms of adding value to whatever fish you are bringing up. But you see, when you travel out there and you go to any store and you pick any fish on the shelf, the value is so high.
Right. So
the GDP, the contribution to the economy is high because there's high value addition to the fish resources. In our case, the fish value is so low, and so you need to harvest so much in order to be able to break even. And that is not good for conservation. What we need is to concentrate on value addition and increasing shelf life of whatever fish we are landing.
Right.
And I think that is where investment should be focused now. That how do we ensure that we increase the shelf life of our fisheries and then we increase employment opportunities upstream. We probably may have to start thinking about having a mariculture activity so that we could, even around the mangroves, we could do shrimping as part of mariculture within the brackish water. And district assemblies could take this up as project and employ young people within the community to do shrimp farming. We have young people selling crabs and all that. We need to make conscious effort and see how best we could develop all those things, because we have variety within the blue space in terms of fishery and crustaceans that we need to look at developing. We cannot continue to rely on the traditional method, and whilst we increase our output with fewer people employed in the sector, and we increase the value addition, the fisherman automatically becomes rich. Because you see, when you walk around Tema, even if you go around Polygon, you find people drying anchovies by the roadside.
Yes.
But these same anchovies in some other countries are properly dried using a solar dryer system, and they are properly canned, and they have a longer shelf life. They have a higher value. So you need to start thinking technology even within the fishery sector. And that we are failing to.
In our case, how do we deal with it apart from drying it, in the sun, where it's prone to dust, sand, and others?
If you have a solar dryer system and then you have designed proper canoes and they come, you take them through the solar drying system. You extract the oil from it. You dry them. You package them nicely. You can do vacuum packing, and then you have a longer shelf life. Properly labeled when they were harvested, and then the shelf life and everything. You can even export them.
Right.
You get it. Once you extract the oil from it, you have some other valuable product in fish oil that could also be used for other things. So we need leadership, we need investors, we need people who are thinking beyond just the fisherman landing fish and selling and going home, to people who are thinking about how do we make the fish valuable.
Apart from the fuel issue, what are some of the challenges, major challenges that we have in this particular industry?
No, you see, we no longer have as much fish as we used to have. So we have fewer fish with more canoes and vessels chasing them all over the place. And that is why we are finding it very difficult to deal with illegality within the fishery sector, because it's become a sector where the maximum of survival of the fittest well fits in. And so you need to do anything to survive. And we are also not helped by the fact that a lot of upstream activity are reducing the ecosystem activity. Because if you are losing your brackish water and your mangroves and your fresh water, which has a direct relationship with your marine environment. And I always cite the example of salmon, which we don't have in our water.
Salmon?
Yes.
Okay.
It actually spawns in fresh water. And then the mother migrates into, and then the juvenile from the fingerlings right to the juvenile migrate gradually through the brackish water into the open sea. Now, if you pollute your lagoon and the lagoon basins, and then you build around, like we've taken over the Sakumo Ramsar site and all that, which have some significance to the marine ecosystem.
Right.
And you destroy all of them deliberately as a country. What it means that you are reducing the ecosystem activity for which the fishery is dependent on. And when you do that, you need to be sure that you are reducing the quality of life of people who are dependent on the ocean. Crustaceans like crab and prawns, most of them spawn around these areas. If you continually destroy them, when I was young, I was going with my cousins to trap crabs. Some people had relied on that for the education. Now you've lost all your mangroves, you've lost all your fresh water, you've lost all the mud around the mangrove that you have the crabs.
Yeah.
So you are losing the whole economy within the fishery sector. And that is what we have done. And so it's not just the fish in the ocean. It also has to do with other activities that contribute to the sustenance of the...
that's going to be my next question. How come we are losing all these, the mangroves and the fresh waters and all that?
No, because if you channelize all your drains and your domestic waste through, and that is done deliberately. Tell me one area in Ghana where the drains are not channeled into one water body or the other. This is state-sponsored, not individuals. All of our water bodies are channeled into a lagoon. And so all the domestic waste, all the oil from the mechanics and all of them land in those water bodies, and they continue into the ocean. So you are losing the quality that you have. And fish and other marine species are also living things. So whatever is a pollutant and could destroy your life will also destroy their life. And so when we do things like this, we lose. And you realize that we keep winning sand along our beaches.
Right.
But we used to have some crabs that are, so once you continue to win sand, you are also causing harm. Even turtle, they lay their eggs in the sand. So if you continue to win the sand, they are losing their breeding grounds, so to say. Now, look at the hotels. We have basically lost our beachfront. When I drive around Cape Coast, I feel sad because people are cutting down the coconut trees and turning the beachfront into sports and all that. You see, when you lose your beachfront, you can't get it again. But we are watching, we are looking at people, and we travel everywhere in the world. And we see that people don't just destroy their beachfront, but we are destroying our beachfront. And nobody is saying, come on, let's stop this and preserve. It's sad. You see these things and you're like, are we not? Why are we so insensitive
that
to our
comes about
environment?
as you know, it points to the fact that Ghanaians love to sit in the beachfront and have fun.
So no, you see,
I've seen Cape Coast. I know just by the roadside. Yes,
I was in Portugal just last, and you know, when my hotel, when they decided to give me the one that faces the beach, I had to pay more.
Yes, absolutely. Even here in Ghana.
So
when you're making some reservation, that's what happens.
You know what you have done?
Yeah.
Behind the hotel, they have actually paved the area all the way. And so there's a space behind the paved area and the beachfront.
Right.
So nobody is touching the sand around the beachfront. So there's a paved area, there's a street, and so nobody crosses the street onto the beachfront.
Right.
But here, the street, people have crossed the street and gone into the beachfront. That is wrong. That is not supposed to happen. And a number of things we have done, we are pouring stones everywhere to protect, because we've not done things right. I don't know why our engineers decided to do that. But you see, once you continue to reclaim because you probably have a situation of tidal waves, but it's not just the tidal waves. It's also because we have lost our lagoons,
right,
which are a collection point, and we've also lost our the green belt. That also helps to soak the water that is coming from the ocean in times of high tides. So the water has to force its way. And once it's forcing its way and it's coming into our homes, then we start crying. So we now have to go and find stones to block the ocean. And once you do that, you have lost the natural environment. And when you lose the natural environment, it goes with everything natural.
Great. Okay, so we keep saying that we are losing our fish stocks and all that all the time, but there don't seem to be any concrete research that would conclude this way. Is there?
So I think when you go to the University of Ghana, you go to the University of Cape Coast, a lot of students have done a number of research. But as usual, we don't work with our research. They will write nice research proposals, they will do nice research, and a lot of them, Prof. Nunu...
Well, that's appear as if we only rely on, complaints from fisherfolk when they go to sea and return with nothing, and they say the thing is not there, that kind of thing.
How then did we know that we have more vessels than we require? It is that some people have done some research. In fact, when the USAID Sustainable Fisheries Management Project came up, there was this fine gentleman, a Moroccan actually. He was lecturing at the University of Rhode Island, and he did a lot of fantastic research. And in fact, he made a significant contribution for us to know the state of our small pelagic, particularly the Sardinella stocks. And he actually helped in forming the scientific and technical working committee or group to try, and they worked on the issue of close season and when it is appropriate and all that. So there's a lot of research that had happened, both by local people and international people. The challenge is that we need to have people who now say, look, we agree to work with science. And where we are, we've gotten to a point where we need to work with the science from the scientists, the science from the fishermen, and the observation from other people, and let's sit at the table and ask ourselves, what is it that we can do?
Now, one phenomenon that used to be a challenge to fisherfolk is the issue of kidnappings and robberies and attacks at sea. What's the situation at the moment? Well,
we've had some, I wouldn't say the situation is completely abated, but we have some abatements. We have to thank the Ghana Navy. We had some arrangement that made them board our vessels. So they warded them away a few times, and I think they've gone back. But we won't take it for granted because they continue to board other vessels in other jurisdictions, areas that are not within our EEZ. They made a few attempts and they didn't succeed, so they are looking elsewhere. But we are still on guard. We are not being complacent about it, because it's really quite worrying when you get your vessel boarded and pirates take away your crew.
So there are calls for the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture Development to expedite action to reduce the high incidence of cetacean bycatch. What is that?
There you have three products. You have your target, what you set out to go and catch. You have your bycatch. They are not your target, but they are incidental catches. And then you have your discards. Your discards are the ones that you throw away and there is no problem. Because in some instances, they are not even fish, they are not edible and all that. And at no time should your bycatch exceed your target. Otherwise, your bycatch now becomes your target. But we have had instances where fisher folks have had more bycatch than their target, and that is what resulted in the cycle issue. Because the target for the trawlers had always been the harvesting of demersals, the high-valued redfish and the groupers and all that. So when the incident of harvesting a lot more small pelagic like the sardinella and then the salmon, we don't have sardinella, and then the mackerel and horse mackerel and all those ones, the round mackerel and all that, exceeds their target, then you can't say it's now bycatch.
Right.
But that is also not supposed to be their target. So now you need to put in measures to ensure that they do not harvest more of the non-targeted species compared to the target species.
Okay.
And that is what the ministry tried to do with the introduction of the new GIFF regime, which they are piloting to see. So what they've done is that they have reduced the opening significantly, and they've introduced a few measures to ensure that the non-target species are able to swim away,
right,
or not got caught in the
nets, yeah.
You cannot have an incident-free bycatch, but as much as possible, you need to reduce it to the barest minimum. At least not more than 15% of your total harvest.
So those are some interesting perspectives of the fishing industry in Ghana. Iron Port returns after this break.
Every now and again, Goil makes good things happen. This time, Goil has introduced Super XP Ron 95, a higher grade fuel loaded with additives and yet sold at the same price as normal fuel. Goil Super XP Ron 95 enhances engine performance like never before. It maintains the engine by keeping it clean from carbon deposits. Goil Super XP Ron 95 is designed to burn slowly and thus improves fuel economy, making you save money after several kilometers. Goil Super XP Ron 95 gives you a smooth driving experience, that is, less vibrations. Fill up with Goil Super XP Ron 95. Now there's no need to pay more for any higher grade fuel. Goil has that sorted. Goil, good energy.
Electricity, then pay your taxes. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water, or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Impressive factory. If only I had listened to you, I wouldn't have been in this mess. That devastating fire virtually wiped out the whole factory and my warehouse.
Remember my misfortunes last year? Serene Insurance Asset All Risk Fire policy that I took were there to pay for my damaged stocks in the warehouse. And my machines that were affected by the floods have been replaced. My accident vehicle is back on the road thanks to Serene Insurance Motor Policy. Currently, my goods are on the high seas, covered with their marine cargo insurance policy. I was just telling Ajima about Serene Insurance.
Oh, Ajima,
tell him more.
As a road contractor, I make sure I do my contractors all risk insurance for the projects and then workers' compensation for all the workers on site. With Serene Insurance, they will make sure they will cover your unknown tomorrow today.
Serene Insurance, a new face of insurance. Call us now.
MPS Terminal 3 is Africa's new state-of-the-art container terminal at Tema Port. For manufacturers, agro-processors and traders, the new port means business can be done faster. This infrastructure boost will improve Ghana's port handling capacity, connect more trading routes, and oil the engine of growth for the economy, creating greater opportunities across all sectors as Africa's markets merge and become the largest trading bloc globally. MPS, we connect, you thrive.
Welcome back from the break. Now news and activities happening within the port and maritime industry next.
20 fiberglass canoes are being distributed to fishermen along the 4 coastal regions of Ghana to promote sustainable fishing in the country. With the capacity to accommodate more than 15 fishermen per canoe in one fishing expedition, the fiberglass canoes were produced to reduce the dependence on Ghana's timber for canoe production. 2 of these canoes were outdoored at the maiden celebration of the Fish Festival in Accra, where stakeholders within Ghana's fisheries sector assembled to reflect on the industry and set objectives for the future. The eco-friendly canoes form part of the government of Ghana's Fishing Port and Landing Sites project, which is being supervised by the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, the state agency mandated to implement port projects. The general manager at the Tema Fishing Harbour, Engineer Kwabna Samoa, explained that this initiative forms part of GPHA's sustainability drive.
We came up with this idea that why don't we include the fiberglass boats for the fisher folk because of the environmental issues associated with using the wooden vessels. So then the project managers bought into that idea, and GPHA contributed by providing land, especially at Takoradi, as one of the sites for the construction of this facility.
The head of projects at the company contracted to build these eco-friendly canoes, Meridian Logistics and Engineering Eben Kwao, said these game-changing canoes are the future.
We will all agree that our trees has been cut extensively. Fiberglass canoe, aluminium boats, steel boats and the like. It's a transformation from us saving our forests.
Speaking during the opening ceremony of the Fish Festival, Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture Development, Mavis Hawakumsin, intimated that government has embarked on a transformational agenda for the fisheries sector, with many initiatives ongoing.
Government has commenced the automation of premise fuel outlets across the country to help address the incidence of premise fuel diversion and hoarding.
The colorful event also saw participation from the Fisheries Commission, the National Fisheries Association of Ghana, Ghana National Canoe Fishermen Council, and the National Fish Processors and Traders Association of Ghana, among others.
The Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, GIFF, has held its 25th annual general meeting in the Eastern Regional Capital town of Koforidua to deliberate on how freight forwarders can maintain their relevance in a turbulent global supply chain. Speaking at the event, the Omanhene of New Jabin, Dasebe Nanakwekubu Boateng III, appealed to freight forwarders to be honest in their dealings with importers and refrain from acts of distortion.
As agents, I will urge you not to take advantage of the country's precarious situation to overdo things, thus charge exorbitant fees, all in the name of exchange rate and fuel increment.
The president of GIFF, Eddie Akron, said in maintaining the freight forwarders' relevance, efforts should not be spared from venturing into ICT solutions whose dividend would endear freight forwarders to the trader.
Our quest at using research and data to influence our future conversation at problem solving places us on a pedestal that demands quality and a certain higher level of responsibility as practitioners.
The Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Shippers Authority, Benonita Bismarck, revealed that the authority, in collaboration with some stakeholders, have engaged the shipping lines in a bid to address some issues in the industry.
The Ghana Shippers Authority, in collaboration with the Committee of Freight Forwarder Associations, COFA, the Ghana Union of Traders Associations, GUTA, engage the shipping agents in order to streamline processes and address the general service quality issues within the cargo clearance space. with a view to stemming the tide of arbitrariness in the introduction and increases in tariffs.
The Eastern Regional Minister, Honorable Seth Kwame Echampon, commended freight forwarders for their immense role in the global supply chain.
The various roles and activities carried out by the freight forwarder makes him indispensable in the current global supply chain.
The Minister of Transport, Kweku Ofori-Siamam, averred that to ensure competitive business environments, there is the need to harmonize and standardize shipping line charges, negotiate for minimum service standards, and more importantly, build strong regulatory framework for enforcement and compliance. He noted that sustainable shipping is the future of the industry.
Ensuring environmentally friendly ports, promoting regulation for green shipping through technology and renewable energy along the shipping value chain are some of the interventions being pursued by government. Therefore, ensuring green logistics operation across the logistics value chain is a strategy that we must all pursue in our various capacities.
It's time for some international port and maritime news.
PetroChina, the oil and gas unit of the state-owned energy company China National Petroleum Corporation, has completed its first ship-to-ship LNG bunkering operation at Yanshan Port in Shenzhen, China. The operation took place on November 22 when CNPC provided synchronous LNG bunkering operation services for LNG-powered container ship owned by French shipping giant CMA CGM. The company said it was the first time it has realized the simultaneous LNG bunkering operation of offshore ships. The conversion of a Port of Antwerp Brook tug to methanol has officially been launched at the beginning of this week, with the first engine installed on Monday, November 21. The second dual-fuel engine is set to be installed next week, enabling the vessel to run both on methanol and conventional fuels, according to a recent update.
Now, schedules of vessels in the port, those at anchorage and those expected in the coming week, plus the Bank of Ghana exchange rate you need to know to clear your goods from the port next. It's now time for the word of the day.
A ship chandler is an individual or company selling equipment and supplies for ships.
Coming up next, we have some comments you have been sharing with us.
Hello, Iron Pot. My name is Betty Lamte from Medina. I grew up in the suburbs of Usu and witnessed many fishing activities. I wish the government will grant more support to the fisher folks and the fishing sector in general, because I can tell that if this is managed properly, the sector can help the country. Hi, I am Clinton Daniels from Elmina. I am really enjoying this particular program. Thank you and your team for the good work you do in the quest to promote the works of ports and its harbors. Thank you for your comments.
So that's all for this week's episode of Iron Port. Thank you for watching and thanks to the entire crew. Join us same time next week.